We are in for another exciting episode. I'm definitely not a grown woman, but last week I heard from a number of my colleagues, female, who stated that, hey, Wesley, where were the females represented in that? So it seems like, I guess they felt like we had a lot to say. So they want to have a lot to say tonight. So I'm going to be joined by two really special ladies. Uh, Feel free to join in as always in the episode, and we'll come back and talk more after this. All right. So yeah, like I said, after last week, people came on. There were some women on the show who had something to say, but I guess they had said, "Hey, Dr. Jesse Sanders, he's amazing. We both made comments that were relative to women and didn't have women in the represented on the panel. So, not the best of things to do. So." As usual, always forget to remind people you can call in, text in, so I made a nice little thing so to remind you. So yeah, tonight I am going to be joined by the first person is going to be Miss Anastasia. She is a colleague of mine. We used to work together. She has experience in inpatient psychiatric emergency services. Also, she operates a private practice where she works with children and adults in both individual and couples and families. She is incredibly amazing and brings a wealth of knowledge. So I'm excited that she took time out of her schedule tonight and is able to join us. The My second guest is Miss Jaya Hilliard. She is no stranger to the show. She's been on the show before. She is an author, spoken word artist, and a lot of her content and her experiences around relationships and relationship advice, both her books. Actually, she's written several books that we've talked about on the show in the past, are relative to relationships, and a lot of her content is relative to that. So I can't wait to bring them on. So, like I said, made this nice big banner. So I'm excited. We've had a very weird week. Am I the only one who felt like it wasn't incredibly crazy? Tiasia, thank you for joining in. Sorry, let me pull up this thing so I can see who all is here. I hope everybody is here. Let's see. Sorry, it takes a little minute. There we go. All right, there we go. Hey, Derek, all the way from Barcelona. Tiasia, yes. Joanne, thanks for joining in. So, yep. So, like I said, we're gonna bring them in. Hopefully, they're here. We have sometimes, of course, you all know technical issues from time to time. So, we'll bring them up.
We'll bring them up.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. I hear crazy echoes. Not sure who's it is.
Anastasia, can you hear me?
I do.
It's not Anastasia. So, 1 second, Anastasia. Jai, can you hear me?
Jai, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I got
some
echo from you.
crazy echo from you.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
Are you possibly watching the show?
Are you possibly watching the show?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess it shouldn't be watching.
Okay, I guess it shouldn't be watching the show.
Because then maybe that's why the delay and the echo.
By the delay and the echo.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
Yes, Anastasia, we get this fun stuff. And so, can you see yourself, Anastasia?
I
Perfect.
do.
All right. So we're gonna let Jaya get that situated, and Jaya, just wave when you're um, got yourself back on and you're ready. Let's try. Give it a try. You ready? Did that fix it, Jaya?
Did that fix it, Jaya?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you got a crazy
Hold
echo.
on.
Did that fix it, Jaya?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you got a crazy echo.
Try reconnecting with us, homie. We're waiting for you. All right, Anastasia. So you saw the beginning of the episode, and I played the Beyonce grown woman video because I felt like I know, right? It's like a little heads up.
Yeah.
But so last week, Dr. Sanders made some great points, some amazing points, and he talked
Yes.
about like how um, he made the comment that minority women, he for whatever reason he felt to point out that are exemplifying this strong personality, and that sometimes can be problematic in relationships. Especially, so I picked out this not just because I love Beyonce, because I better not say that I don't because of the Beehive.
The beehive will come.
But at the same time, it's one of those things. She's exercising. I'm a grown woman. I can do whatever I want, and that could be problematic in relationships. So, what do you think?
I especially appreciated the framework that he shared, the four C's, and I believe one of them was communication. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. So I'm a grown woman. I make my own decisions, but I am also a married woman, and I have to take that into consideration when I'm making these decisions. So it's it can be problematic if you are not able. Oh, hey.
Hey, Jaya.
So
Jaya,
it
can you hear
can
me?
be Oh,
Sorry.
no, we're
We see
good.
her.
Let's get Jaya settled.
Can you hear me, Jaya? Okay. Sorry. So you're a grown
No, we're
woman.
good.
You recognize that you have a voice, but you also, in being married and having a relatively brand new baby, right?
Well, she's 4.
Oh, she's 4 already?
She's been on this planet
Can you hear
4
me
beautiful
now?
years.
We hear you.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh my God, that's so much better. Can you hear us, Jaya?
So
Jaya, can you hear
I
us?
can't hear you.
You can't hear us? Hmm. Maybe now this is one of those times where we see you, okay, and we hear you. Hmm. And I don't want to throw up no sign language, girl. Um,
Yeah, it's not working.
you know what, Jaya? Let's do this. Let me call you home, girl. Cause so then you can hear the questions, Jaya. Oh shoot! Well, obviously, crazy ass. Okay, she'll come back on. I'm gonna give her a call.
what you gotta do?
So yeah, go on and I'll get her settled, Anastasia.
hmm So I think it can be problematic when we don't have a good balance between who we are as
Mm-hmm.
individuals and who we are within our couple, within our partnership.
Mm-hmm. Right.
hmm
And now, how? So you have a 4-year-old,
I do.
and you practice. You have a private practice part time,
hmm
and you work also
Can you? Yeah, I
in
still
the acute
can't
setting.
hear you. That was.
Let me call you home, girl. Because I think we can hear. I think everybody, if everybody can on the program can hear Jaya, send me a text message. Send a message, say you hear Jaya or you don't hear Jaya. Because I hear, you hear Anastasia?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so you work in an inpatient setting still. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you got a lot going on to be a new mom.
Yeah, but I have a wonderful partner who we're a team. We
Mm-hmm.
have a system. Some days are better than others, you
Right.
know, but we have the communication and a family framework, and in the
Mm-hmm. Guess what, Jaya? One
within
second.
oh
Just what,
mm-hmm.
Jaya? We hear you. So I'm just gonna put you on, and you'll hear, and you can respond. Okay. Okay. Did we? Okay. So she's gonna call back in. I hate these things
Awesome.
sometimes.
It
Um.
happens. It happens.
Right. Exactly. So you got a lot going on, girl.
Yeah. So basically, I think what it all boils down to is that um, you have to have that balance between your sense of self as well as your positioning within your partnership. But that has to be reciprocated. I think oftentimes, um, you know, a strong woman can come off-putting for someone who may not be secure enough to to meet her where she is.
Mm-hmm.
So for the women who feel like they're, or for the men who feel like their woman may be too much in that grown woman space, they also have to look at themselves and say, is this me? Is this my own insecurity? How am I not meeting a need for her? Let me explore that. And she also has to look at herself and say, where, if there is any friction between the, oh, what's going on?
Right.
Hold on, I had some technical difficulties on my end. We good?
Yeah, we're good. You still look amazing.
Oh, perfect. Oh, thank you. Um, no, it's just about knowing ourselves. It
Mm-hmm.
all boils down to knowing ourselves. If there is friction, if there is some sense of competition within a relationship, you're going to fail. You should
Mm-hmm.
not be competing against one another. There shouldn't be power struggles. It happens, but you need to check it when it does.
Right. So in trying to balance independence, because for those of us who have been married and it failed and or been in any kind of relationship, I feel like you have to discern what's your own voice and what's like real, and you have to discern like what's our voice together. Like, how do you work with couples surrounding that, especially when, say, especially you have two alpha personalities who are like, look, before you came along, I was doing just fine, and now that you here, or when you leave, I'ma still be fine. That can be a problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they have to look at why they've had to set such rigid boundaries, why they've had to put these walls up so firmly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and understand that the good stuff comes from the vulnerability, from being able to share um, insecurities with your partner and lean on them. They
Mm-hmm.
should be the main person that you lean on. And if you're not allowing them the opportunity, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm. If you're not
You can't be
allowing
too
them,
strong all the time.
right? If you're not allowing them the opportunity to see your vulnerability, or allowing them the opportunity to either lead or take the back seat. Anything in particular, or?
I think all of it. I
Mm-hmm.
think for the most part, though, I think people have a hard time being vulnerable.
Mm.
They have a hard time saying, you know what, I have issues with anger because of this history, or I have issues with trust because of that, and I have to own that. That's my baggage.
Mm.
Throw on some Bag Lady by Erica Badu, take it back, and understand that it can you can bring in um, some of that baggage forward. So look at yourself. Why are these boundaries so rigid. And if you're a partner on the receiving end of someone who's guarded, you have to do your best to speak about their behavior and try not to attack their character,
Now,
and just communicating.
have you seen like where a lot of women, or I would say a lot, anecdotally, I guess the best way to say it, where that's a common thing, where younger couples that come into your practice, because I don't know that I see a lot of it. I'm a liar. I do see a good number of couples, um, especially because I treat same gender couples and I also treat heterosexual couples. That a lot of women are very strong. So
Yes, we are.
very strong. But I'll be honest, it seems like my female patients who are 40 and under struggle the most, and my couples who are older, yeah, that's not so much. I mean, what do you think? I guess even from an anecdotal,
Struggle
like
in
hanging
what
out with your
way?
girl, and struggle in that I'm independent, it's my way, I can be okay without you, I can be good with you, blah, 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 blah. I feel like
Well, I
young,
mean,
like our younger female in our age range, under 40, struggle with it more, struggle the most with it because maybe I guess maybe it's the feminist movement. Maybe I mean that's why it's like let me throw this out there and get another some
I don't
female
think it's the
standpoint.
feminist movement. I don't think it's that. I think it could be just, what has been modeled for them. If they have, I come from a family where um, I had a blended experience. I had examples of couples who were together, and then that, single mother, matriarchal led household led family. And when you have to be the mother and the father, that's a heavy burden to carry. And if you witnessed your grandmother carrying that, your mother carrying that, that's generational. That I would have difficulty trusting. I would have difficulty being vulnerable. But that's something that individual has to work through. That's something that has to be, you know, teetered lightly by the partner. You have to also take that into consideration. Have they been let down generationally? Have they been you have to do some reflection and see and try to, if that person is who you want to be with and you're willing to enter this area of negotiation or compromise, then you also have to have patience and try to do some reflection on why are they reacting so strongly.
You,
Anger is a secondary emotion. It comes from somewhere.
that's something that I still sometimes forget about. I think I don't want to say without the research. I think the incidence of single households has been more prominent over the last 20, 30 years. And when you do think about it, if you have seen, I guess, your mother or your grandmother be your primary breadwinner, whether you be a male or a female, it can be challenging to role model your own relationships later in life, and you have a more of an uphill battle than somebody who grew up with a two-parent home where they saw their mom and their dad negotiate,
Absolutely.
work through hearing their own voice. I forget about that.
I
So,
struggled with allowing my husband to open the door for me, to allow him to be a gentleman. Not that I didn't have, positive men in my life, but as far as, um, I grew up, I was raised by my grandmother and my grandfather, and it was just a different generation. I wasn't used to that tenderness being modeled for me. So I struggled because I was like, my grandma had to do what she had to do, and I had aunts and relatives who were in single parent homes, and the woman was the one holding down the fort. And it was, for me, when I was younger, it was more that I didn't want to be let down. So I was going to do what I had to do. And if you disappointed me, I was good. It took me some time to reprogram that within myself to allow my husband to be my husband. And he was very patient, and I appreciate him for that.
Awesome.
But yeah, it takes time and it takes programming. I mean, reprogramming. We have to kind of look at like why am I struggling with letting him open the door for me? I remember we bickered one time because he was like, just let me take care of you. Like I want to be your provider and your husband. Why are you so I am woman hear me roar all the time? And I had to appreciate the message and look at myself. That's
Right.
what I have to say about
You
that.
know, I agree with Ola Curry says interesting. This was, it is very interesting. I mean, it's been a very interesting phenomena because I think as minorities, let's just call it what it is. We're both minorities. I think that it's just telling for us in terms of like the struggle. Derek says when a person is able to share their vulnerability with their partner, especially when they have strong personality, it makes their partner feel trusted in a deeper level, which is so incredibly true. Uh, MJ says many young adults under 40 are still in the intimacy versus isolation stage. Really, you think so? Of human development. At this stage of human development, some people experience conflict with forming healthy, intimate relationships with others. And while I hear that, though, intimacy versus isolation is a very young age. So that, I think that was teenagers for us. That's around about our teenage. Help me out, Anastasia. Right
Yeah, I
around
believe it's adolescence, young
adolescence.
adult.
So we should kind of
Yeah,
be able to kind of move past that stage. And I guess if we are stuck in
compartmentalize.
that page, right, then that does kind of support why when we're upset and I'm pissed off at you and I just grab my stuff and I'm like out. I'm out. I don't want to play with you in the sandbox anymore because you don't want to play by my rules. Um, I mean, that's really interesting. But yeah, you're right, MJ. That is something to toss in there. But then how do we progress? Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna throw a little bit of this Southern Bible that got thrown into me growing up. Um, the Bible says no man is meant to be alone, and that means no man, no woman are meant to be alone. But so,
I mean, look at what solitary confinement does to people. It's terrible. We are not biologically meant to be alone. We are social creatures. But I think it all comes down to trust and respect. And people are who they are. If you meet your partner and you don't like 20 things about them, they're not the one for you. So people are who they are. You have to take them as they are. We only change for ourselves primarily unless we're motivated otherwise. The only person who can change, the only person we can control is ourselves. So if you're going into a relationship and you're having these power struggles, you have to identify, like I said before, is this something that I am willing to work through? If it is, I have to do some reflection on, why is this power struggle existing? Where is this coming from? And put your guard down and be vulnerable so that the other person who's so guarded you have to model it for your partner if that's something that you want to stay within.
now, do you have any advice for ladies when they come in, say if they come in single or they come in a partnership? How do you how do you start out that work with them when they say, you know what? Because let's just be honest, we get to that age where we say, I'm tired of kind of being alone, and maybe it can't be everybody else's. Something must be wrong with me. Um, what do you start with them? What do you do, and then what do you do differently with a man?
I do the same thing with everyone. What are your
Hmm.
negotiables? What are your non-negotiables? When you're entering a partnership, what is something that you if religion is very important to you and you want certain traditions to be followed, okay, well, is that negotiable? Is it non-negotiable? You need to
Hmm.
have that identified before you enter a partnership. You can't enter a partnership, get whisked away by the feelings and then try to. It happens, life happens, but if they're coming in single and they're wanting to work on that, I have them start there. Start identifying where you'd like your boundaries to be
Hmm.
within your choices, um, so that way you can have a better understanding of what you will be open to, what you'll actually pour your effort and your time into. Just get to know yourself. When my husband and I first started dating, a big part of our courtship was I'm me, you are you, and
Hmm.
we are we. I have to have self-love. I have to have time for myself. I have to make sure that I maintain an identity outside of this partnership. If I get too lost in the relationship and I lose myself, we're not going to do well. We're not
Mm.
going to do well. So I have to maintain my own peace, so that way we can be peaceful together, and both partners have to live up to that.
Okay. Now, do you think there's a such thing as balance, like in developing interdependence when you're in a relationship, or one is gonna consider love the other more than the other, or be more giving than the other? Do you think that there can be balance, 50-50?
No, no, I think it ebbs and flows.
Mm.
It goes with life. It goes with situations. There are going to be times where I'm consumed with work, and I need my husband to pick up the slack, and vice versa. um, I think there has to be that trust built in the beginning to know that, okay, when I need you, you'll be there.
Hmm.
If I don't trust you, then there may be some resentment that may grow. There may be um, some petty patty may come out. You know, you may get the you have to trust. You have to be vulnerable,
Hmm.
to say, you know what, I've had a really rough week at work this week, and I need you to do the laundry today or whatever the case. I just can't get to it. Communicate. Let each other know where you are
Okay.
emotionally.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, do you recommend? Because sometimes I do. I've been telling people, and I have a good few number of couples who come in as couples before they get married, before they get engaged, and they're like, "Doc, we're really serious right now, and we want to talk. We want to go ahead and get the conversation started." Do you recommend that for couples?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. You have to start having the difficult conversations before things become permanent. If you can. Life happens. I'm not This is ideally, and if you're preparing for yourself, this is what you should do. But
Hmm.
life happens, and sometimes we aren't afforded the opportunity to prepare ourselves. But if you are afforded the opportunity, please go speak to someone in your church. Go seek out a couple of sessions before you get married, just so you can air out any of the issues, because they're not going anywhere. And there are probably a few that already exist, because
Right.
you have two people who have lived on this planet separate from one another, raised in two different homes, have different patterns, different lifestyles, and they're coming together to become one. So there are
Hmm.
going to be some things that don't align. So if there is anything that is difficult to discuss as a couple, having a third party, why? Of course, it's. I'm always up for therapy. I think it's. I mean, it's what we do.
Right. This is what we wouldn't have a job if we didn't. So Anastasia, maybe my last point. Maybe my last point. I'll be honest. So what you just said about I've had colleagues say, Wesley, why do you bring them in to therapy beforehand? Because what's said is when they jump that broom, when they go to that altar, all bets are off. That's when it hits the fan. That's when, like, all of that childhood trauma, all of that stuff that didn't get met in the younger days now becomes the responsibility of the partner to feel.
It
And I'll be
shouldn't.
honest, when I'm on the other side of marriage, uh, and when me being transparent, after we said I do, all bets were off. Wesley couldn't do anything right, and of course, a lot of it was me too. So, but I'm just taking ownership of my shit. Um, but some of that is true, I think. Like when you say I do and you put that ring on, it's a totally different playing field. You ain't going. You're not supposed to go nowhere, and so you, the partner, and you start needing to get different needs met than when you were engaged and dating. What you think? What do you see?
I think that happens to a lot of people, but again, it circles back to ourselves. That's self work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, if you want to stay, you got to identify what do I need to work on within myself to be able to tolerate this moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I need to identify is a trigger for me, and can I communicate that? Is that something that this person is willing to work on? It happens. You move forward, you get married, and I didn't realize that I had all of these, you know, control issues. I want my toothpaste this way, or I want my, meal cooked at
Right,
this
right,
time.
right, right.
Um, so you have to start identifying what's the emotion behind the conflict. Is this, or what's the main pain point, the issue, the point. You just try to identify patterns within yourself, patterns within the relationship. I mean, I guess, are you, the question is it that, how do we counsel people through that difficult time if they
Mm-hmm.
if they initially marry? It's just self work. At the end of, even if it's couple work, it's heavy for me in my sessions. It's heavily based on in self. Also, I have them do work together and work individually.
Right. Right. One thing you just said is when couples come to us, most times it's not because everything has been going great. Most times there's been a lot of things going on. Infidelity, um, violence has been a part of the picture. Some of the things that we always ask about when they come in. Has anybody hitting each other? Has anybody slapped anybody up? Because that's a whole different stuff. Are you safe right now? So that we can kind of work from there. So most people come into and sit down on our sofa when things are either like, Doc, I just want to figure out how we
This is
can
the last effort.
leave each other amicably, or to say that we exhausted all things. And then it's like, okay. Well, there's not, first off, the disclaimer is for me, I need you all to promise that you're going to do this for 3 months and know that things are not going to get better for at least 3 months of therapy. Um, and in some cases, things are going to get worse. You're going to still feel more tense because people are going to start speaking up now. They're going to start trying to figure themselves out, and know that, that needs to be the contract at the very beginning. How about you? I mean, because again, I think you look like you're shaking your head. I agree. People come in like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like literally today when I walk out of here,
Absolutely.
I'm almost about to pack up my little Toyota.
Absolutely. I also have them commit to a time frame, and I also have them commit to respecting one another, doing their best not to break thresholds of cursing at one another or putting hands on each other. If those thresholds have been broken, it's, of course, it's very easy for them to go back to that, but I definitely lay the groundwork for safety and reparation. You can't repair things with um, four-letter words. And I teach them also about the neuroscience behind arguments. If you come at me, I'm gonna go limbic, and blood is gonna flow to my hands and my feet, and I'm gonna want to fight or flight. So we have to understand that we can't communicate in the red. So I do a lot of that base teaching, in that you can't get anything accomplished communicating in the red. We have to do our best to communicate in the green, and when it gets to that yellow orange level, that's when we need to walk away.
Right.
Because once it goes red, you're there. So we have to learn ourselves, learn our triggers, and start with respect. Commit to a time frame, and we need to start with respect from the gate. Because if you're not able to walk away from an argument, then maybe you need to walk away from that relationship.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So, I mean, Anastasia, at the end of the day, I think that this isn't one of those things that, it's always an evolving topic. And it is one of those issues that are part of the threes. I mean, for me, in the work that I do, three things are going to be typically the problem. It's going to be communication, it's going to be sex, or it's going to be money. Sometimes there's breakdown in one of those things, sometimes there's breakdown in all three of those things or two of those things. But are those the three things that you can come up with, or do you have anything extra for advice for people who are watching?
I saw that you mentioned that also in part one of it, the sex, communication, and money. If intimacy is lost, someone is potentially going to want to get that need met elsewhere or in another way. It's just it happens. It's something that needs to be discussed, and I agree. Finances, if that's not communicated, if someone is doing a lot of retail therapy, and absolutely, sex, finances, and communication, absolutely.
Right. Derek says you can't communicate in the red. You never heard that before. That's good. I mean, I'll be honest, Derek. I haven't heard it before either, but it's very true. Like a bull. Like when you see red, ain't no talking. There's, and it's very much the physiological of the limbic system. Blood flows to your hands and your feet, so you're either ready to run or throw punches. And that's the problem, like we said, and a lot of people who come to therapy have waited till they got to that point where they have had so many opportunities or so many events where things have been read, then they can't see any other way. So when they go into an argument with that partner, though, that typically becomes like, this is where this is going to go. I'm not going to win, and we're either going to result to those same things that we've always done. But so now, last thing, because I'm a liar, I thought it was the last thing. So going into another relationship, then, what's your advice? Because Sanders said last week, people should always take an amount of time to deal with themselves, search within themselves, recognize where they went wrong. Some people have said, no, I can meet the right woman or the right man right after a relationship and work through that. What do you think? Do people have to spend some time alone following abusive or problematic relationships before they can go into another one?
I think it is helpful. I think it's helpful, but I don't think it's 100% necessary. Ideally, we should know what it's like to be by ourselves, to go on a date by ourselves, go have dinner by ourselves, go to a movie by ourselves. We should feel comfortable being one and alone. That if you have that issue, I think that's separate. If you are entering a new relationship, and excuse my French, if you own your shit, then I think that you'll be able to juggle. If you're aware of it and you're able to compartmentalize and you have the discipline to compartmentalize and communicate, then I don't see it being an issue with moving on. It's situational to the person. So that was the only thing when I was listening that I didn't 100% 100% agree with. I'm not as rigid with that. I think that if there's a good if you have self-awareness, I think you can do it.
Good. Right. Awesome. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I know that we've been a little bit over. Tell people about how they can get in touch with you. I had some stuff going across the screen, your website, and different stuff like that.
So my Instagram handle is at mindful_solutions. I post different tips and interesting information related to mental health and self-care. I have a website. You can also check me out at www.mindfulsolutions.onl. I focus on the family dynamic, couples, parents, and just breathe. Everyone, just remember to breathe. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale, and that's where we start. That's where the healing starts, is through breath. So thank you for having me, Wesley. It was a pleasure. It was good. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And the last part of that, you didn't mention, you are bilingual.
Oh, sí, hablo español.
Exactly.
Sí. Exacto.
Do
Llámanme y busquen mi información que está ahí abajo y podemos comunicar.
Right. So you need to say that in Spanish, because I have Spanish viewers, and these things is like YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and as you know, as a licensed clinical social worker, we have so many limited resources, not just one in mental health, but even more as it relates to bilingual. And so they sometimes, our potential clients go to YouTube, they go to Facebook, and they'll see this. So, and I don't have Spanish captions.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Sí, sí. Alguien está interesado en buscar más información sobre salud mental, me pueden encontrar en Instagram. Se dice en inglés mindful bajo solutions, pero está abajo de la pantalla. Ustedes pueden buscar mi información en el website y gracias por escucharme.
Whew, music to my ears. I don't know. I don't speak anything other than English. But thank you so much again. You have an amazing week, and let's talk later.
You too. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. I don't know what was going on with my homegirl Jaya's audio. Hopefully, we'll make it happen at some other time. So next week is going to be another amazing week. Please join me. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I don't want to break it down and tell the secret, because I want you to join in. So as always, have an amazing week. I love you, and I'll see you next Sunday, 8 p.m. We